What is the worst case of attention seeking you've ever seen? A girl I matched with on Tinder posted a pic of herself in a thong with the caption "My grandma just died." People posting photos of themselves giving money to the homeless. During a hot Iowa summer I was detasseling corn to keep it from pollinating, and one of the girls in my crew pretended to be stung by a bee and said she was extremely allergic. She started spazzing out like crazy, so we called 911 and a helicopter ended up flying to the field to take her to the hospital. After they brought her, and it turns out this fucking bitch was faking IT. Needless to say, she got fired, and I think she got some kind of fine. Fired from detasseling. That's a career ender. My friend's wife died unexpectedly. His mother immediately began posting photos on Facebook of him having clearly cried himself to sleep. Tissue strewn on the pillow. Face streaked with tears. Captioned them with shit like "so sad MSCNG wifey IGOTU Barbie boy," pictures of the pets and captions about how sad they were too. Photos of her posing at her dead daughter-in-law's gravesite, etc. She eventually began posting several times a day thanking God for giving her the opportunity to help her son raise her grandkids. I'm surprised she didn't lick the tears from his eyes. It was sick. This was me. My cousin was visiting from Korea. I was 8, he was 6. We were sitting around my mother on the floor watching her sew something. She couldn't find a piece of string she had pre-cut. She asked us to look around ourselves for the string. My cousin was sitting on it. He handed it to her and said, "It may be smelly." I farted on it. My mom laughed and said, "Haha, you're so funny." I got jealous. So I forced her farts out but shat my pants instead. My mother didn't laugh. Probably too late to the party. But I worked with a crazy attention-seeking woman for about a year. Keep in mind this is a 40-something-year-old mother of 2. Highlights: this woman and myself were 2 of about 5 females in the entire company of nearly 100. She played the "I'm just one of the guys" card by trying to talk about cars and other stereotypical manly topics that she obviously didn't know. Worst of all was the need to make sexual jokes that were just so desperate. It got to the point where she would inquire about everyone's meats at lunch, making as many references to penises as possible. They didn't even make sense. If you were eating anything crunchy, she'd have to make some reference to nuts, as in ball sacks, every single day. Any possibly connection to drama became her personal tragedy. The best example is when a friend of hers had a daughter studying abroad in rural France during the Paris attacks. She was inconsolable until someone else made some sort of comment containing sexual innuendo. See above. Then she was alright. Personal injury. One time she fell in a parking lot and sent half the staff a very close-up cell phone pic of her knee. It was a scrape. She took the rest of the day off. She also got into a fender bender and milked it for all it was worth, including a statement that she needed to learn to walk and talk again at physical therapy. One-upping we dress up for Halloween in the office. Everyone wears something low-key that they can still work function. In her first Halloween with the company, she rented a Cruella de Vil costume and paraded around all day. Didn't do any work. Annoying, but not too alarming. For our annual ugly Christmas sweater day, however, she showed up with a cat shirt, not a sweater at all, or Christmas related, and those galaxy space patterned spandex pants and real cat toys, those colorful little mice, hot glued all over them. All day she complained about how nobody went all out like she did. She got fired a few months later for basically not even pretending to work. Now she's a higher level manager for one of our competitors. This should be interesting. My cousin's girlfriend's son decided he wanted to play guitar and sing a song at my dad's funeral. No one else was playing music or singing. He gets up halfway through the funeral and starts singing. He's horrible. At the end of his song he actually plugged his new CD that he just so happened to have a bunch of copies of in his car. What a shitlord. The song was Jason Mraz's Curbside Prophet, but as a country cover. I was taking care of other funeral business, so I didn't find out about it until too late, or I would have stopped it. I went to high school, 250 students total, with this kid who was a bit of a loner and had a reputation for being a pathological liar. In college, my friends and I began to notice these beautiful girls writing to him on his Facebook wall. At first, it struck us as odd, but we left it alone. As weeks passed, our news feeds continued to be flooded with new girls we had never heard of flirting with him. So we started to get curious. Some of us have known this kid our entire lives, and we could count the number of times he spoke to girls on one hand. We later discovered that he had created 30-40 fake Facebook profiles with completely fabricated backstories and still pictures of real women he found on the internet. He would carry out conversations with himself by posting from all the fake female accounts multiple times a day on his wall about fake parties, hangouts, etc. and respond from his own account. After this happened, he closed his Facebook account. We later found out he had become a gambling addict and spent time in a mental institution. Eventually, he moved to another city and got a job. He befriended all of his HS classmates, including me, and from what I see, he seems pretty happy. It took him a while, but I'm glad things worked out for him in the end. This was in my early 20s. I would work with the young co-workers in the most laborious part of the company. Women were also there. We would all hang out after work. Good group of friends, except for one girl. She kinda interrupted conversations she wasn't involved in. I knew she was self-centered, but I didn't care until the day she got fired. One of the girls in the group got engaged and everyone was happy for her. Retelling and rehearing the way he proposed over and over since it was quite adorable. She had a face of jealousy. Suddenly we don't see her. Then one break we check our phones and she said that she's going to kill herself. We show our manager. She panics and sends me to check on her. Track her down. I find her in her house eating chips watching TV. She was fired for abandoning the job. There's an extremely irritating girl in my English class who makes up her own quotes every day and then writes them on the board signed with her name. I want to punch her. My sister-in-law's cousin is hot. Everyone agrees. There's no denying it. When she walks into a room, all eyes turn to her. She's always got guys fawning all over her. She has plenty of attention, deserved or not, at all fucking times. When my brother got married, this girl, my sister-in-law's cousin, decided to wear a huge, frilly white dress with a hat veil. She kept barging into places moments before my SIL, excusing herself for causing confusion. I wanted to punch her face. I wasn't the one getting married, I'm a guy, and I still wanted to fucking punch this woman's face. Knew a dude who was a pathological liar. Some highlights included: stolen Valor. Claimed he was the only survivor from his Alpha Bravo whatever special forces squad where he was the squad leader. Made up elaborate stories about his training, missions, you name it. Even got pissed off and accused legitimate soldiers of stolen Valor. He even had some real vets convinced. Of course, whenever he was offered a job pertaining to his vet status, asked about going to the VA, or was put in a situation where his military papers were required, he had a convenient inconvenience come up. All of his teammates died and in all of his moves he lost any documentation backing up his claims. Hypochondria. He did have one legitimate painful disease, but he chose to go all out by adding in a history of seizures, migraines, and a cervical fusion from a failed halo jump from one of his missions. See above. He'd be in the shower for an hour, or doubling over in pain, rocking back and forth, casually mentioning, I had a seizure the other night but you were asleep. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to scare you. Turns out he did hurt his neck a long time ago, but it was due to an obese patient falling on him when he was an EMT. Munchausen syndrome. He couldn't go 1 week without getting a new injury, ranging from some scrapes, or a large gash on his arm, or showing up to my dad's cut and bloodied. Superficial to the point where he wouldn't bleed out, but enough to garner attention, sympathy, pity, and have us take him to the hospital. A lot of this happened when nobody else was around, so I suspect he was doing it to himself, especially considering his family told me that they've seen him break a glass bottle over his own head and piss himself to fake having a seizure. Made up stories. Goes hand in hand with him being alone. All these wounds came from being jumped or being beat up, etc. More than once on the phone he said to me, I have to go. There's a group of guys following me, which would scare the shit out of me and I'd be on edge until he told me he was okay. Lied about wanting to commit suicide. Even told me that he had written everyone goodbye notes. Not true. A few years prior, when he lived with his family, he and his wife always threatened to kill themselves, and he wrote a goodbye note to his 2-year-old son and placed it for his family to find. Made up tales about being a stripper in Canada, going to school to be a physician in Detroit, his entire military career, bedding 20 plus ladies, almost getting into an art school for his innovative design, being abandoned by his family and raised by his grandmother, living in the campground secretly after his return from the military, etc. Last had one job as a contractor but lied to friends about having that job, as well as being a physical trainer, and looking at bars to be a bouncer playing the sympathy card from all angles. Would tell one person he didn't want to be a full-time father while telling another kid-loving person he couldn't imagine anything less than having full-time custody. Telling his girlfriend that he hadn't been happier in years and loved even just staying in with her while complaining to buddies that she was plain boring, and lamented that they didn't go out to party every day. Tried to get everyone to be on his side because his crazy junkie wife just left him for some junkie ex-BF. When in reality he too was also a junkie who was the one who got the crazy wife hooked on drugs. Dude was legit crazy. Attention whore incarnate. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I will be uploading new Reddit videos every day. Check back tomorrow for a new video covering a new topic and sit back and enjoy. Thanks once again from Reddit Bro.